Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and another video, and obviously the massive giveaway of what I'm talking about is just right here next to me. As you know, in my surprise video not that long ago, I bought a second assembly square. After I build the alternate build for the corner garage, the Modular Pub, I was like, I am hooked. I need to do this more. So here we are. I did it more. And it was amazing. The link for this design is in the description down below if you're curious yourself and you want to see some high quality images. This design is from different people than the pub. The assembly square set, as we know, is actually a huge set. It has over 4,000 pieces and sits on a base plate and a half. Now this one only sits on one base plate, which is interesting to note, and also that probably explains why it definitely doesn't use all of the bricks available. Now, I'll get into how many bricks I've got left over later. The other thing I also quickly wanted to say is this build originally also has instructions for a car. I wasn't a massive fan of the car, nor do I need more cars in the city as it is. I'm just focusing on the actual building today. Now, as you can see, and you probably can't deny, this is a stunning looking building. I just wanted to talk a little bit about building it and the techniques used before I kind of go into what the building looks like from the inside and what my thoughts on it are. So, having done one more alternate build before this, what I really found in that build is that there was quite a few techniques used that I wouldn't necessarily expect from LEGO. This set also uses some really interesting techniques, and definitely a few bits aren't as sturdy as you would expect in normal actual LEGO sets. Like there is a few bricks here at the bottom that are just kind of balancing on one stud rather than be attached in both pieces, which, if you are really particular about having pieces exactly line up, it is quite hard to get everything on the facade looking quite straight. Overall, this was a really good build, and I think the instructions were really clear. There was just a few occasions where it wasn't entirely sure how to attach a brick, or I wasn't entirely sure what colour to use. And I started building the second floor here, and I realised I was missing two of the 1x bricks that I'd use at the very bottom floor in a different place because I thought that's the colour they asked for. So I just wanted to make you aware. I managed to figure it out literally generally about 1 or 2 steps later, so it wasn't ever really an issue. I just basically wanted to say occasionally I just kind of had to guess a little bit how to put it together, but overall all of it comes together really easily and you kind of figure it out as you go. So this is not at all saying that they're difficult to follow. There's just a few moments where I wasn't entirely sure how they wanted me to attach things. However, as you can see, I managed to build it, so evidently that wasn't an issue. As I also mentioned, sometimes it wasn't entirely clear what colours to use, but again, by process of elimination, you generally were able to figure out which one they meant. I felt that part use for this set was absolutely ingenious. You definitely use a lot of interesting parts, and I feel like the size of building you get for this alt build is fantastic. I was actually thinking the other day how huge this felt, because if you compare this to normal modulars that sit on a 32x32 base plate, this one's definitely bigger than generally LEGO does. I'm just thinking about obviously the corner garage, which is a corner building as well. That's kind of, it feels like that's more or less half the size of this, because this really does use pretty much all the space on this base plate available for this mock. Obviously this building is built with bricks that are enough to build a building that stretches in a base plate and a half, and this only is one base plate, so obviously that kind of makes sense. But I'm going to show you how many parts I have left over in a minute, and there actually are so many. Because it's called European Jazz Cafe, I think the European refers to the style of architecture. Especially this side I found very European. I can definitely see the influence of the architecture design that they were going for. I really like the use of colours here and the use of little parts to make flowers in the windowsills. I think that's really adorable. I really like this detail here at the top. It reminds me of the Amsterdam Canal House as well as many other European buildings. But I really like the design of this. I think there'd be... And then on this side, I particularly loved the design of these windows. They were really unique. They stick out a little bit. And then there is a window behind. So the techniques to actually build that was so cool, and I really enjoyed that. I was like, oh my god, I've never ever come up with that myself. It really adds a lot of interest to that side of the building. I think they've done a really great job as well of having one collapsed parasol and one open one. I don't know if I'm ever going to replace that with one of with 2 open ones. I think for unity's sake I might prefer that, but I really like how they use parts to kind of still have the cohesive feel, even though there wasn't another massive round piece. So overall, I think the design of this building on the exterior is fantastic, and that's also partially why I obviously wanted to build it. I saw pictures of this and I was like, wow, I must have that in my city. I just completely fell in love with it. As you know, I bought a used assembly square set for this, so an extra one, which meant that At some points when I couldn't find parts, I wasn't sure if it was because I just didn't find it or if it was missing. In the end, I think I found everything, and it was mostly just because when you're building a building like this, and you would have seen it in my reveal that I'm building this building, you have so many parts in front of you, and all you can do is like sort them by colour, because actually unless you have a lot of space and just like lay out all the parts in all these separate containers, it's quite hard to separate enough and to sort enough before you start building. But I did want to highlight about the building process, of course, again, and I don't know if I was clear enough during the corner garage review, is that when you build old builds, it isn't as simple as Lego builds, where you get like numbered bags that kind of take you through steps. It means that you never have like 2 million parts to go through to find one particular one. With old builds, obviously you have to do all that sorting yourself, so it does take quite a lot longer to prepare for them. However, if you like sorting, it can be really therapeutic. Put a little audiobook on and you will be good to go. There's some excellent Lego podcasts as well, by the way, if you want to listen to those while sorting. I think we've covered the exterior look quite a lot, but I've really enjoyed doing this exterior. It was an absolute joy. So as the name hints at, this is a European jazz cafe. Now I feel that the European alludes to the exterior, the jazz to the first floor, and then the cafe to the bottom floor. So here we have the bottom floor of the build. Here we have a beautifully detailed, very pretty cafe with a really detailed coffee machine. It has a beautiful ice cream machine, and a little oven with even some stuff in the oven, as well as very nice seating and beautifully massive windows, which I personally really like to build. Like, this would be a cafe that I would 100% love to go to if I was a minifigure. There's a really cute detailed toilet build as well under the stairs, which I really appreciated, as well as I just really enjoyed this build overall. I was really impressed with the amount of detail they got into this area and the reuse of parts. I especially like the techniques to have the lights above the counter. I thought that was really a nice addition, and also broke up the space a little bit because it is a really large space. The one thing that is a bit odd is that there's 2 doors into the building, quite close to each other. However, that's like a super minor detail and it doesn't really matter too much. Cafes often have more than 1 door. With the stairs, you can kind of see a little bit that this is obviously an old build, because some of the colours are a little bit different to what you'd choose if you were building this yourself. But overall, I think it has a really nice cohesive feel, and I really like the way they broke up the space by using different coloured tiles to kind of create more intimacy within the build. So if you were to be a minifigure go into this cafe, it wouldn't feel like a really massive open space. I also really enjoy the seating area outside. I think that adds a lot to it, and considering where I want to place it, I think that works really well, which is also partially what convinced me to get this set. If you go up 1 floor, you have the Jazz Cafe, which is still a cafe. There's still seating area around. It has a nice enclosed stairways, so if you were to be a minifigure walking from the cafe upstairs to the Jazz Cafe, you'd just have to open a door to get into the actual Jazz Cafe, which I think is really nice, because you can consider if this is an actual functioning restaurant, it's really nice to have the jazz area closed off, because it becomes more intimate, but also the noise won't travel as far, so you can still sit downstairs in peace. I really like the stage design. I think that's a fantastic build. I love how they use the texture tiles that you use on the like left-hand side building on Assembly Square for like a sort of sound isolation type detailing at the back of the stage. I think it really adds a lot of nice detail, and it just makes it look a little bit more interesting rather than just be a blank blue wall. I also think the piano is really sweet. There's a cool clock on this floor as well, which I think was a fantastic build as well. It's a really nice reuse of the clock piece, so I absolutely enjoyed that. The best little thing and little detail that you have on this floor that was a really nice nod to the original set is that there's a micro build of Assembly Square itself on this floor, and it's just when you get to it you're like, oh my gosh, how cute, and I think it's ingenious. I absolutely love that little thing. Obviously this is the floor as well that come with the really cool buildable windows that I absolutely love to do. Basically, I really like this floor. I was really impressed. I think the details of the seating area is beautiful. I like the little rose build. I think that's adorable. And overall, I'm definitely a massive fan. Right, moving on to the last floor, the 3rd floor. This floor doesn't have that much detailing, we have to be honest. It's basically completely open, so there is a little bit of seating area on the side, so if you were to be a minifigure visiting the Jazz Cafe, you could like sit on the balcony overlooking the stage. It would be really nice if you're a minifigure. I have added a few extra little tiles there, but nothing too exciting. And there's a really cute micro build of the Tower Bridge, which I really enjoyed. So I thought that the use of this open air space was really interesting, but also it does make the 3rd floor or like I guess the top floor a little bit useless because there isn't actually that much interest in this room, it's just to create the height. But considering this is obviously a jazz cafe and there's a huge stage, it does make sense for the actual set itself, and if this were an actual operating building it would be really useful to have that open space to look onto the stage. And last but not least, the roof has only one detail on it, all flat, and then the middle bit is a dark bluish grey base plate, which would be lovely if that was a light bluish grey one just to fit in better. But overall I think the design of this is really ingenious and I absolutely enjoyed building this. It's huge, like sometimes you forget how big these can be, but like even compared to normal modulars, this does feel really substantial. I absolutely love building this thing, and there were so many really nice thought through details that really carry on the same level of detail for interiors as the newer modulars. If anything, has much more detail inside than some of the other ones. This building is not sparse, it's chock full of detail, and you still have a crazy amount of bricks. So let me just show you what you have left after this building. So here you go, these are all the parts I have left. So there's lots of coloured bricks, lots of masonry bricks, blue, red, all that kind of stuff. Some of the blue bricks you would have used if you'd built the car, but I decided not to. Then you have a crazy amount of see-through stuff left. So you've got lots of these windows, doors, all the garage bits that you use for the window of the pastry shop, and lots of other nice little details. Then you also get quite a lot of white ones left. This is not all, the bigger pieces are in a separate one, but lots of these like nice windows, some massive plates and everything, more a crazy amount of white doors. I must have about 7 white doors. I can't even remember what all of these white doors were used for in Assembly Square. It definitely didn't feel like there were this many when I built that set. However, I have a crazy amount left after building this alternate build. Also, on the same vein, a crazy amount of black door frames. Look at this! You definitely have a very nice amount of bricks left. Some nice tan bricks, quite a lot of 1x6 light bluish grey. I was really pleasantly surprised at how much stuff I have left over, in the sense of, okay, this is really good bang for my buck. Like I have a massive alternate building here that I could use in my city, but also I have lots of parts to build other buildings. Maybe not enough for walls, but definitely enough to add lots of detail to other buildings, as well as to do mocks with. So my second alternate build experience has been fantastic. I really liked working on this building. It's such a joy to build modular buildings anyway, and sadly there's obviously only ever one that comes out a year, so having alternate buildings is a really good idea. If you are interested in alternate mocks for whatever set, I would really recommend getting the sets before they retire, because as we all know, these are mods of existing modulars, and modulars go up in price when they retire so much. So if you are thinking about building the pub, or if you're thinking about building this, I would really recommend you pick up the sets as soon as you're able, because the last thing you want to do is miss out and then pay literally top dollar for these sets secondhand when they've retired. What's also a really great tip when you want to do remocks is you don't need to buy a sealed set. Apart from the absolute certainty that you have everything in perfect condition, you don't need to buy a sealed set, because inevitably before you can build an alternate building, you have to take every single bag apart anyway and sort all of the pieces and then build. So what I did with mine is, obviously I bought a used set, and I have to say I was really lucky. The person that sold it had it in perfect condition. Some of it was a bit dusty and I did have to clean whilst I was going, but like it was sorted really well and I didn't miss any parts. So sometimes you can risk that a little bit, but generally when people are selling modulars, they will tell you if it's complete or not. So I would say if you are looking to do an Assembly Square or Corner Garage remock, get these sets now, and if you can and you don't want to spend the full asking price at LEGO, it's a really good way to like see if you can find these sets secondhand, build but then taken apart or something like that, just save a bit of money. So I hope that kind of helps with your considerations. If you have any particular questions about this mock or about remocking in general, please do leave them down in the comments. I'm super happy to have a little chat with you. Obviously also the link to the instructions for this mock are in the description as well, because obviously we need to share the love for this. Keep your eyes out for the next video where you'll see me placing this into the city, because that's obviously the next step. I bought this with a place in mind. Can't wait to show you the addition to the city. Don't be surprised if sometime soon I'm buying the Disney Castle to do the remock off as well. I just need to figure out where I'd want to place it in my city first. Maybe I need to create a third level. Somebody suggested that in the comments some time ago, and it's definitely been growing on my mind because I'm realising I'm running out of space really quickly again. Such a surprise. Thank you so very much for watching. Leave any questions in the comment. Please like and subscribe. That would be amazing. It really does help the channel, so thank you so very much in advance. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye! Howdo!